The studio lights were blazing, the cameras were rolling, and millions were tuned in live when suddenly everything went off the rails. Anderson Cooper, known for his calm but piercing questions, had just dropped a bombshell. Meghan Markle sat across from him, poised and polished, but the words coming out of his mouth made her eyes widen, her smile tighten, and the tension in the room spiked so sharply you could almost hear it crackle. "So, Meghan," Cooper said, voice steady, "how do you explain the documents? We've uncovered documents that don't exactly match what you told the world." The audience gasped. Even through the screen, fans felt their stomachs twist. Was this the moment Meghan's carefully crafted narrative would collapse in front of everyone? Markle tried to hold her composure, but her voice shook as she muttered, That's not what this is about." Cooper pressed harder. "But the evidence is right here. Millions are watching. Are you denying this?" Her cheeks flushed red. Her hands trembled against the glossy studio desk. The silence stretched unbearably, and then, in a shocking turn, she pushed back her chair, stood up, and stormed off the stage. Fans online erupted. Hashtags exploded within seconds. Some cried betrayal, others defended her fiercely. But one thing was certain: what just happened on CNN wasn't just an interview, it was an explosion that no one saw coming. As the cameras kept rolling, the studio descended into chaos. Anderson Cooper tried to maintain his composure, but the tension in the room was undeniable. Producers in the control booth whispered frantically through headsets, trying to figure out if they should cut to a commercial break or keep the feed live. But CNN knew what they had. This was television gold. Millions of viewers were glued to their screens, watching Meghan Markle storm away, her heels clacking furiously against the polished studio floor as she vanished behind the curtains. Cooper cleared his throat, his piercing blue eyes scanning the stunned audience. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice steady, "we seem to have touched a very sensitive subject, but the question remains, what is Meghan Markle hiding?" His words echoed through the studio like a hammer strike, sending shockwaves far beyond the set. Backstage, things were no less explosive. A camera operator who had instinctively swung his lens toward the exit caught a glimpse of Meghan pacing furiously, her hands running through her hair as she muttered under her breath, "How dare he? How could he blindside me like this?" Her assistant rushed forward, holding out a bottle of water, but Meghan slapped it away. "No," she snapped. "This isn't just an interview anymore. This is war." Back in the studio, Cooper's producers scrambled to bring out panelists to fill the awkward silence. A royal correspondent, visibly flustered, adjusted his tie and spoke up. "I think what we're witnessing here," he began, "is the unraveling of a very carefully built public image. If these documents are what Cooper suggests, this could be devastating." The social media eruption was immediate. Within minutes, #Meghan storms off trended worldwide. Fans divided sharply down the middle. Some accused Cooper of ambushing her, calling it a disgraceful attack on a woman who has already endured years of scrutiny. Others cheered, insisting this was long overdue, that the truth was finally catching up to her. One viral tweet read, "Anderson Cooper just did what the palace never could. He made her run." Inside Meghan's inner circle, panic set in. A close friend texted her frantically, begging her to calm down and return to the stage before things spiraled further. "Meghan, please, don't give them this power. Go back out there and defend yourself." But she refused, her pride wounded too deeply. "No," she hissed into her phone, "if I go back out there, I'll look weak. I will not let him humiliate me." Cooper, sensing the magnitude of the moment, pressed on. He motioned for the producers to display the documents on the big screen behind him. "For those just tuning in," he said, "what we have here are financial records, communications, and correspondences that raise very serious questions about the authenticity of some of Meghan's past claims. These are not rumors. These are verified." The audience gasped again, as pages of emails, bank transfers, and handwritten notes appeared in giant projection, filling the studio with an air of undeniable drama. One note in particular stood out, a message that seemed to contradict the story she had told during her infamous royal interview years prior. "Ladies and gentlemen," Cooper said slowly, "this could change everything we thought we knew." Backstage, Meghan's team scrambled to issue a statement. Her publicist, sweating profusely, barked orders at assistants. "We need to control the narrative immediately. Draft something, say she was blindsided. Say CNN acted in bad faith. We have to turn her into the victim again before this spreads too far." But deep down, they all knew the damage was already done. By now, even the royal family was watching. Palace insiders reportedly exchanged frantic calls. One unnamed source told a British tabloid, "We were prepared for many things, but not this." The fact that she walked off live television, it makes her look cornered, it makes her look guilty. As the minutes ticked by, Cooper invited a body language expert onto the stage. She replayed the clip of Meghan storming off in slow motion, analyzing every detail. "Look at her hands," the expert explained, pausing the footage. "When she clenched her fists, that was pure panic. Her smile disappeared instantly when the documents were revealed. This is someone who felt exposed." The crowd murmured, Even the audience members inside the studio could feel the weight of the analysis. Some shook their heads in disbelief, others whispered to each other, wondering aloud if this might be the end of Meghan's carefully guarded image as a wronged outsider. Meanwhile, inside the green room, Meghan finally slumped into a chair, her eyes wet with furious tears. "They'll never forgive me for this," she muttered. "They've been waiting for me to slip, and now they think they've won." Her assistant tried to comfort her. "Maybe if you go back out there," but Meghan cut her off sharply. "No, if I go back, I'll explode." And that's exactly what he wants. Cooper, aware that the world was watching, took a deep breath and leaned toward the camera. "I want to be clear," he said. "This isn't about attacking anyone. This is about truth. The people deserve answers, and until we get them, this story won't go away." His words were measured, but the implication was heavy. Social media analysts later revealed that in that 30-minute span, Meghan's name was mentioned over 2 million times online. Live reaction videos poured onto TikTok with fans screaming, crying, or laughing hysterically at the chaos. One clip showed a group of college students jumping up from their couch, shouting, "She walked out. She actually walked out." Another showed a middle-aged woman, tears in her eyes, saying, "I believed her. I defended her. And now, I don't know what to think anymore." The longer she stayed off stage, the more damaging it became. News outlets across the world cut into their programming to replay the footage. British tabloids wasted no time publishing headlines like "Meghan unmasked" and the walk-off scene around the world. Even American outlets that had once been supportive began to question her credibility. As the pressure mounted, Meghan's phone buzzed with a call from Prince Harry himself. She hesitated before answering, her voice trembling when she finally picked up. "Harry, it's happening. They're turning everyone against me." On the other end, Harry sighed heavily. "Meghan, you have to get back out there. Hiding makes it worse. If you don't fight this now, they'll destroy us." Her jaw tightened. "But what if I can't win? What if this is the end?" Harry's voice grew firm. "Then at least go down swinging. Don't let them write the ending. For you?" Those words hung in the air, and for a moment, the fire returned to her eyes. Just as Cooper was about to move on to another segment, a sudden stir backstage caught everyone's attention. Whispers spread through the audience as camera operators signaled to each other. Meghan was walking back toward the stage, her expression a storm of determination and fury. She adjusted her hair, squared her shoulders, and pushed through the curtain once again. The audience erupted in applause and gasps. Some cheered her bravery for returning, others booed, sensing desperation. But one thing was certain: she was back, and the showdown was far from over. Anderson Cooper raised an eyebrow, the faintest hint of a smirk tugging at his lips. "Welcome back, Duchess," he said coolly. "Shall we continue?" Meghan locked eyes with him, her voice low but sharp. "Oh, we'll continue. But this time, on my terms." And with that, part 1 of this explosive drama came to a close, setting the stage for an even more fiery confrontation that no one could have predicted. The studio lights dimmed, just enough to cast sharp shadows across Anderson Cooper's face, as if fate itself had staged the moment for maximum drama. The tension from Meghan's storm-off was still crackling in the air, like static before a thunderstorm. Producers were scrambling, whispering frantically into headsets, trying to decide if they should cut to commercial or keep the cameras rolling. But Anderson, calm and deliberate, leaned forward in his chair, refusing to let the moment slip away. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice steady yet tinged with disbelief, "you just saw what happened. But what you don't know is why Meghan reacted the way she did. Those words alone lit up social media. Within seconds, #Meghan storms out was trending worldwide. Fans on both sides of the Atlantic were divided. Some were furious with Anderson, accusing him of setting a trap. Others praised him, saying he had finally asked the questions everyone else was too scared to. And yet, deep down, the real fuel for the fire wasn't what he asked it, was what he promised to reveal next. Backstage, Meghan was pacing furiously. Aides tried to calm her down, whispering about damage control, but she wouldn't listen. "He had no right," she spat, hands shaking. "He's not just exposing me, he's trying to humiliate me." One of her closest friends reportedly told her, "You should go back in there and finish this. Walking out makes it worse." But Meghan, eyes flashing with both fear and anger, snapped back, "No, he crossed the line, and he's going to regret it." Meanwhile, the CNN control room made a shocking decision. They kept the cameras on Anderson, who began recounting what he called the hidden files. He spoke about private correspondences, alleged messages between Meghan and a high Hollywood producer, and details that had never been made public. "This isn't about gossip," he insisted. "This is about truth, accountability, and the choices that affect an entire family still reeling from division." The studio audience gasped, some covering their mouths in shock. Others muttered, wondering how CNN had even gotten access to such sensitive information. A woman in the front row was heard saying, "Oh my God, this is going to destroy everything." Anderson then leaned in closer to the camera, almost conspiratorial. "Meghan says she wants transparency, that she wants her side of the story told. But what happens when her own words contradict the image she's tried to build?" The fallout was immediate. Celebrities started tweeting. One well-known actor called the broadcast an ambush of the highest order, while another wrote, "Finally, someone's brave enough to hold her accountable." Meghan's critics cheered, saying she had been playing the victim card for too long. But her loyal supporters were outraged, slamming CNN for sensationalism and betrayal. And just when it seemed like the storm had reached its peak, a new twist erupted. An anonymous source leaked a recording from backstage. In it, Meghan could allegedly be heard saying, "I knew he was going to bring this up. I told them, if he does, I'm walking." The recording spread like wildfire, suggesting that Meghan had been preparing for this dramatic exit all along. Was it a genuine reaction or a carefully orchestrated move to seize control of the narrative? The press had a field day. Headlines screamed across every outlet. Meghan caught in backstage bombshell. Coopergate rocks, CNN, and royal drama explodes live on air. Every word dissected, every frame analyzed. Fans began creating side-by-side comparisons of Meghan's past interviews versus her reactions now, pointing out contradictions. But the most shocking moment of the night wasn't Anderson's revelation, or Meghan's storm off, it was Prince Harry's response. Watching from California, insiders claim he slammed his fist on the table and muttered, "This is exactly what we feared." His frustration was twofold: anger at CNN for cornering his wife, but also frustration at Meghan for walking straight into the trap. Close friends say he tried to call her immediately after, but she wasn't answering. Instead, she had locked herself in a hotel suite, refusing to speak to anyone except her personal aide. She feels betrayed by everyone. The aide later confided, by the network, by the press, even by her own team. Anderson, meanwhile, kept talking. His voice carried an air of finality, as if he had prepared for this exact fallout. "This isn't the end," he said gravely. "This is only the beginning of what we've uncovered." And with that, CNN cut to commercial, leaving viewers stunned, fans arguing, and Meghan's future in the media hanging by a thread. But little did anyone know, the real explosion was yet to come, because when the cameras came back, Anderson Cooper wasn't alone at the desk anymore. Another figure was sitting across from him, someone whose presence made the entire studio erupt in gasps. The camera faded back in from commercial, and the tension was palpable. Viewers at home leaned closer to their screens, while those in the studio audience sat frozen, whispering in disbelief. Across from Anderson Cooper sat a woman whose presence made jaws drop instantly. It was none other than Samantha Markle, Meghan's estranged half-sister, the very person who had been a thorn in her side for years. Gasps rippled through the audience as Samantha adjusted the microphone clipped to her blouse. Her face set in an expression that blended vindication with barely contained anger. "Thank you for having me," she said, her voice sharp, as if daring the audience to challenge her. Anderson nodded gravely, replying, "The public deserves to hear every side. And tonight, we're going to address the things that have been hidden for far too long." Back in her hotel suite, Meghan reportedly froze when she saw her sister appear on screen. Aides described her reaction as a mix of shock and fury. She couldn't believe it, one insider whispered. She kept repeating, "How could they do this to me?" over and over. Prince Harry, still in California, was said to be pacing, frantically torn between outrage at the ambush and dread over what Samantha might reveal. Samantha wasted no time. "Everyone sees Meghan as this victim," she began, her tone dripping with disdain. "But behind closed doors, she's not the person she pretends to be, Anderson. I have proof. Proof that she's manipulated people, cut off her own family, and twisted every story to fit her narrative." She pulled out a stack of papers from a folder, slapping them onto the table for emphasis. The audience gasped again, craning their necks to see. Anderson leaned in. "Are you saying these are documents that contradict Meghan's past claims?" Samantha smirked, clearly relishing the attention. "I'm not saying it, I'm showing it. Emails, text messages, conversations. She always knew what she was doing." Fans watching from home lit up social media. One comment read, "This is explosive. Samantha's receipts are gonna end Meghan's career." Another countered, "This is just jealousy. CNN is giving a platform to someone who's been bitter for years." The divide grew deeper with every passing second. Meanwhile, back at CNN headquarters, producers knew they had struck gold. Ratings skyrocketed as people tuned in from around the world. News outlets interrupted regular programming just to cover the unfolding spectacle. "Meghan storms out, Samantha storms in" became the line of the night, repeated endlessly across tabloids and talk shows. But the most dramatic twist came when Samantha read aloud a series of alleged private messages. One of them, she claimed, was Meghan describing royal obligations as a stage where everyone is forced to play a part, and I just happened to play mine better. Another, even more damning, hinted at Meghan's plan to use the family's influence to secure Hollywood connections. The crowd gasped again, some booing, others clapping in disbelief. Meghan, watching from the hotel, reportedly threw her phone across the room in frustration. "They're twisting everything," she screamed. According to her aide, "Those are out of context. They don't even know the truth." But by then, the narrative was already spiraling out of her control. Anderson, keeping his composure, Ask Samantha the question everyone wanted answered. Why are you coming forward now? Samantha paused, her eyes narrowing. Because people need to know the truth. I kept quiet for years while she played the victim. But after tonight, after she walked out, I knew the time had come. The audience murmured, some nodding, others shaking their heads in disbelief. And then Samantha dropped the line that would echo across every headline the next morning. Meghan didn't storm out because she was blindsided. She stormed out because she was cornered by her own lies. The reaction was immediate and chaotic. Fans on Twitter called it the dagger in the heart of Meghan's image. Critics slammed CNN for orchestrating a family ambush. Yet one undeniable fact lingered. The drama had just escalated to a level no one had predicted. And just when the atmosphere couldn't get any heavier, another bombshell arrived, not from Samantha, not from Anderson, but from the royal family itself. A palace spokesperson issued a rare statement during the live broadcast, saying, "We are aware of tonight's developments and are monitoring the situation closely." The studio went silent. The audience froze. This was no longer just a television spectacle. It was now pulling the royal family directly into the fray. Anderson looked at Samantha, then at the camera, his voice low and deliberate. This is no longer about entertainment. This is history unfolding. And as the words left his lips, fans everywhere knew the night wasn't close to being over. The next segment promised something even more shocking because rumors were already swirling that another family member was preparing to speak, live and unfiltered. The studio lights dimmed slightly as the broadcast cut to yet another segment, and viewers who thought the night had peaked were about to realize they hadn't seen anything yet. After Samantha's accusations, the atmosphere was already charged with electricity. But then the unthinkable happened. The screen split, revealing a live video feed from London. It was none other than Thomas Markle, Meghan's estranged father. The audience erupted in gasps and murmurs, while Anderson Cooper held his composure. Glancing briefly at his producers off camera, Mr. Markle Anderson began, his voice calm but taut with anticipation. "You've chosen to speak tonight? During one of the most heated moments in television. Why now?" Thomas sighed heavily, his voice crackling with the rawness of years of silence. "Because enough is enough," he said. "I've sat here for too long, watching lies pile on lies. I didn't raise my daughter to cut ties with everyone who loved her. I didn't raise her to treat family as disposable." Back in Los Angeles, sources say Meghan nearly collapsed when she saw her father's face on the screen. She grabbed the arm of her chair so tight her knuckles went white. One aide whispered it was the one voice she couldn't bear to hear tonight. The drama escalated quickly as Thomas began recounting their estranged relationship. "Meghan told the world she wanted nothing to do with me," he continued, "but the truth is, I was pushed out. People don't know how many times I tried to reach out. I called, I wrote, I begged, but she shut the door in my face." Fans watching at home were divided. Some flooded social media with sympathy for Thomas, calling his words heartbreaking. Others accused CNN of exploiting a fractured family just for ratings. Hashtags like #Markle, Family Meltdown, and #Meghan Exposed trended globally within minutes. Anderson, sensing the raw emotion, pressed further. "Mr. Markle, are you saying Meghan deliberately erased her family from her life?" Thomas nodded, his eyes heavy with a mix of sorrow and bitterness. "Yes, she wanted to reinvent herself. She wanted to be seen as someone who rose from nothing. But that meant rewriting her past. And in that rewriting, her family became villains or ghosts." As Thomas spoke, Samantha nodded along, her smirk returning. Finally, she muttered, "The truth is out." The camera caught it, magnifying the divide even further. But then, the real twist of the night hit. Thomas revealed he had kept private letters from Meghan. Letters, he claimed, showed her manipulating not just the public, but even her closest allies. He held one up to the camera, his hand shaking slightly. "In this letter," he said, "she admits she needed to control the narrative about the royal family. She even said she had to make herself the victim so people would rally to her side." Studio audience gasped audibly, and even Anderson, the seasoned anchor, seemed momentarily stunned. "Are you willing to release these letters publicly?" he asked carefully. Thomas paused, the weight of the moment clear on his face. "If it comes to that, yes. People need to know who she really is." Meghan, according to insiders, broke down in tears the moment the letter was mentioned. She kept saying, "Those were private. Those were mine," the source revealed. Harry, frantic and furious, reportedly called CNN directly, demanding the broadcast be shut down. But by then, it was far too late. The damage had already been done. And just when viewers thought the night couldn't spiral any further, another layer of drama unfolded. Anderson, looking at both Samantha and Thomas, asked, "Do either of you believe reconciliation with Meghan is possible?" Samantha scoffed immediately. "Absolutely not. She made her choice long ago." Thomas hesitated, his voice breaking. "She's still my daughter. I want to believe there's hope. But after tonight, I don't know anymore." The conflict between bitterness and lingering love played out in real time, leaving the audience torn between sympathy and shock. Fans on social media wrote things like, This is a family tearing itself apart on live TV, and I can't stop watching. This is like a royal soap opera. And then, as if scripted by fate itself, another announcement hit the airwaves. CNN confirmed that Prince Harry himself had agreed to issue a live statement later that night. The audience gasped. Again, Samantha's smugness faltered. Thomas froze. Because everyone knew when Harry spoke, it wouldn't just be a family squabble anymore. It would be a direct clash between husband and wife against the family she had left behind. The stage was set for the most explosive confrontation yet, and the world braced itself for what Prince Harry was about to say. The moment CNN confirmed that Prince Harry would be making a live appearance, the entire energy of the studio shifted. Whispers turned into gasps, and producers scrambled like it was breaking news of global proportions. The screen cut to a commercial break, but the buzz didn't die down. If anything, it grew louder. Hashtags like #HarryLive, #MarkleDrama, and #RoyalMeltdown began dominating every corner of social media. Fans typed furiously, waiting to see if Harry would defend his wife or distance himself from the storm unraveling in front of millions. When the broadcast returned, the studio was silent. The cameras zoomed in on Anderson Cooper, who looked almost tense for the first time that evening. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began. "Joining us now live, from his residence, is Prince Harry." The screen split, revealing Harry sitting stiffly in front of a plain backdrop. His face was pale, his jaw clenched, his eyes betraying a storm of emotions he was trying desperately to suppress. "Harry," Anderson said softly, "thank you for joining us. I know tonight has been intense." Harry nodded once, his voice steady but low. Intense is one word for it, cruel is another. The silence that followed was suffocating. Meghan, off camera at their home, was reportedly in tears, clutching Harry's hands so tightly he had to shake it loose before going live. Harry inhaled sharply and then spoke with a controlled fury. "I have watched tonight as my wife was attacked, humiliated, and betrayed by people who should know better. Samantha, father, I can't believe what I heard. It's one thing to disagree in private, it's another to parade those grievances before the world for entertainment." Thomas, still on the split screen, looked wounded. "Harry, you don't understand." "No, Dad," Harry cut him off, his voice cracking. "You don't understand. Do you know what it does to a person to be under constant fire? Do you know what it feels like to wake up every day 2 headlines tearing you apart? Meghan has endured it for years. And now, the very people who should have shielded her are joining in. You've broken her heart, and in the process, you've broken mine." The audience sat in stunned silence, the weight of Harry's words hitting harder than any tabloid headline ever could. Meghan, watching from the wings of their home, sobbed uncontrollably as Harry's words reached her ears. Samantha, however, was unshaken. She smirked and leaned toward her microphone. "Harry, the world deserves the truth. Meghan plays the victim while cutting off anyone who doesn't serve her narrative. You call that heartache? I call it manipulation." Harry's face darkened. "You call it truth. I call it betrayal. And I want everyone watching tonight to remember this. Family isn't supposed to destroy each other on live television for the world to see." The tension was unbearable. Thomas's eyes watered. Samantha sneered. Meghan sobbed. The entire world felt as if they were sitting in that room, watching a family implode in real time. And then, Harry delivered the line that would be replayed endlessly across social media, news outlets, and gossip blogs. "Meghan doesn't need to storm off sets or defend herself against ambushes. She has me, and I will protect her, even if it means protecting her from her own family." The studio gasped. Samantha's smirk faded instantly. Thomas lowered his head in shame. Anderson's eyes flicked briefly to the camera, as if silently, acknowledging history was being made before their very eyes. What followed was chaos. Samantha snapped back with more accusations. Thomas tried to interject with pleas for understanding, and Harry's feed momentarily froze under the sheer volume of viewers flooding CNN's servers. Fans online couldn't believe what they had witnessed. Some hailed Harry as a devoted husband, while others claimed he had just drawn the final line between Meghan and the rest of her family. As the broadcast wound down, Anderson's final words summed up the evening perfectly. "Tonight wasn't just an interview, it was a reckoning. And the fallout is only just beginning." The screen faded to black, but the drama lived on. Millions of fans stayed glued to their phones, dissecting every glance, every word, every tear. Because what had unfolded on live television wasn't just a story about Meghan Markle and her family, it was a saga of loyalty, betrayal, and the cost of love under the harshest spotlight in the world. As the lights dimmed on CNN's broadcast, the echoes of what had just unfolded refused to fade. The confrontation between Meghan, her father, her half-sister, and Prince Harry had sent shockwaves across the globe. Fans flooded social media with every imaginable reaction, some praising Meghan for walking away with dignity, others accusing her of running from the truth, and many left stunned by Harry's fiery defense. Emotions ran high, headlines blared with sensational recaps, and the royal family itself was rumored to be holding emergency discussions behind closed doors. The night had exposed more than just family disagreements. It revealed wounds that had been festering for years. Accusations of betrayal, manipulation, and abandonment clashed with declarations of loyalty, heartbreak, and unconditional love. Millions who tuned in felt as though they had watched history's most public family drama unravel before their very eyes. And still, questions remain unanswered. Will Meghan ever reconcile with her father? Will Samantha's accusations continue to haunt her? Will Harry's passionate stand unite or divide the family even further? But perhaps the biggest question of all is this: what comes next? Because if tonight proved anything, it's that the story of Meghan and Harry is far from over. And now, it's your turn. What do you think of this shocking CNN showdown? Did Anderson Cooper go too far in exposing family secrets? Or was he simply doing his job? Was Meghan right to storm off? Or should she have stayed and defended herself? And most importantly, was Harry's passionate outburst a mark of true love, or the beginning of an even bigger royal feud? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you were glued to every twist. Subscribe for more exclusive breakdowns of the biggest celebrity dramas, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next jaw-dropping story. Because trust us, this royal saga is only getting started.